Hi! You want to learn how to blend skin in Procreate? Then be sure to watch this video till the end, because I will be sharing my entire skin blending process. To be able to show you my skin blending process, I have created this portrait, but I left the skin unblended. I used the basic flow brush to add shadow and light to the skin, but I didn't use the smudge tool to blend any colors yet, as you can see. To blend the skin, I will be using my favorite blending brush, my standard blender. But you can use any brush, your favorite brush for blending. And I will be varying the size of my brush, but don't just copy what I'm doing. Don't copy what you see in the slider here on the left, because it really depends on how big your canvas is. Let's see how big mine is. Here, if you have a smaller canvas, then naturally your blending brush will also be, well, it will have to be smaller than my brush. To be able to blend the skin easily, I have created different layers. As you can see, I have a layer with all the skin on it. I have a layer for the eyelashes, a layer for the hair, and a layer for the sketch, but that's turned off right now. To be able to blend the skin colors, you have to be sure that all the colors are on the same layer, because you can only blend colors that are on the same layer. Let's start by blending this area with a relatively large blending brush, because this is a pretty large area and we want to have a smooth blend in this cheek area. Now, if you want to protect your edges, like here, that jawline, then it's handy to set your skin layer to alpha lock. That way the edges will be protected and you can just go over that edge blending without smudging that area. Because what's really important when blending skin tones is minding the edges, like that jawline, but also the edges around the eyes, around the nose, the nostrils, the lips. Those are some areas where you don't want to smudge too much. You don't want to blur that area. So try to protect the parts that you already painted, and think about where you would see hard edges in your portrait and where you see smooth transitions. You will see a smooth transition around the cheek and on the nose, on the forehead. Try to look at these things. Be mindful of them. As you can see, I gently go over these areas that need blending, where you see a hard edge, but where you want that soft transition. I use very little pressure and make cross-hatching circular motions, or I just move along the line where I want the colors to be blended. If you want to learn even more about blending in Procreate, then be sure to watch my other video as well. It's full of tips for blending in Procreate. Using the smudge tool, you can also push colors around, like here around the nose. I will push that shadow up a little bit to shape the nose. As you can see, we've created a very smooth looking skin right now. Everything is nicely blended. We have some nice soft transitions, but we also want some skin texture in our painting. So let's do that now. To add a layer of skin texture to my portraits, I like using my grain brush, my light and grain brush from my skin set. What this brush does is it will lighten up the area, and at the same time it will add a very subtle grain. So right now I will go over the areas where I feel the light is hitting the face, and I will lighten up these areas, and at the same time adding that very subtle texture to the skin. Be sure to use very soft pressure and don't go overboard. Don't add too much of this texture. Keep it subtle. When I feel like some areas still need a little bit more blending, but I have already added some texture to the skin, what I like to do is use my skin blender from my other skin brushes set, and just go over some areas where I feel like, where I feel like the edges are a little bit too harsh. And what this skin blender does is it blends the colors, but at the same time it adds a little texture. Because when we have already added some texture to the skin, we don't want to ruin it by blending getting a blend that's too soft, a smooth transition. When we already have texture, we don't want that. Let's add even more skin texture. This time we will make a new layer above the skin layer, and we will add some skin spots and some freckles. I like using some special freckle and skin spots brushes for that. And I'm not minding where I place all these freckles and skin spots. I only think about the major areas where I want them to be, but I don't mind when they go over areas where I don't want them, because we will be adding a layer mask to this layer. Once we have all the skin spots and freckles in place, go to your layer and select mask. Now you can drop in a black color onto your layer mask, and poof, all the freckles are gone. But we can paint them back in by using white on the layer mask. I like using a soft airbrush for that. And I will just paint back in those freckles and spots in the exact places where I want them to be. Finally, as a last step, I will add another layer and paint in some more freckles by hand. I like using my basic flow brush for that, and I will just pick the color of the initial freckles, maybe go a little bit warmer or darker, and I will paint in some freckles by hand. And if you think the effect is too extreme, you can always lower the opacity of your layer. Play around with that to get that subtle effect that you're looking for. This was my entire process of blending skin and adding that final skin texture to my portraits in Procreate. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out my other Procreate videos as well. I would love to see you next time for the next digital art tutorial. Have a great day!